Have you ever noticed that governance is really the first thing that people want to talk about? When I meet founders, executives, and boards of fintech companies, the conversations usually start with growth. How do we acquire more customers? How do we launch the next product? How do we raise more capital? How do we expand into another country? And those honestly are exciting conversations. Governance usually isn't until something goes wrong. That realization didn't come from reading a book or studying a framework. It came from sitting in boardrooms. And I remember one particular meeting that has stayed with me for years. I won't mention the company because the point isn't the company. The business was doing well, customers were growing, the management team was optimistic, the board was discussing expansion plans, technology investments, and future opportunities. The atmosphere in the room was positive. Then a single question changed everything. What happens if this system fails tomorrow? The room became noticeably quieter, not because anyone had done something wrong, but because nobody had really stopped to think about it. Who would make the decisions? How quickly would management know? What information would reach the board? Who was accountable? And what would customers experience? What would regulators expect? As the discussion continued, something became very clear to me. The problem wasn't technology, the problem wasn't strategy, the problem wasn't even risk. The real issue was that everyone assumed someone else had already thought about these questions and they had something in place. And that's something I've seen more than once throughout my career. Governance often feels invisible when everything is working. Or sometimes even when it's not working but no one knows. It's only when something unexpected happens that we discover whether the business was actually prepared or not. Over the years, I've worked with organizations of different sizes, from established financial institutions to fast growing businesses, and one pattern keeps repeating itself. The organizations that recover quickly from disruption aren't always the biggest or the most sophisticated. They aren't always the most profitable. They aren't always the ones with the most sophisticated technology. They're usually the organizations where people understand their roles. Decisions are made clearly, risks are discussed openly, and accountability isn't left to chance. And that's governance. Not paperwork, not bureaucracy, not slowing down innovation. Good governance gives people the confidence to innovate because they know the business has the structures to support growth when things become complex. And if there's one sector where that matters today, it's fintech. Fintechs are growing faster than ever. AI is changing how decisions are made. Cyber threats continue to evolve. Regulators are adapting. Investors are asking tougher questions. And customers, the most important, expect trust as much as they expect convenience. And that's why I wanted to create this series. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to share some of the governance conversations I believe every fintech board, founder, and executive team should be having. We'll talk about AI governance, operational resilience, cybersecurity, board effectiveness, third-party risk, investment readiness, culture, data governance, and perhaps most importantly, how governance can become a competitive advantage instead of something organizations only think about after a crisis. Because governance isn't about preparing for failure. It's about building organizations that can continue succeeding when the world around them changes. If you're leading a fintech, serving on a board, investing in one, or helping to build one, I hope you join me for the rest of this series. And if today's story has prompted you to ask whether your governance is keeping pace with your growth, we'd love to help. At Cartesian Solutions, we work with fintechs, financial institutions, and boards across Africa to build practical governance that supports innovation, strengthens resilience, and inspires confidence from investors, regulators, and customers. Get in touch with us for a conversation about where your organization is today and where you want it to be. Sometimes the most valuable governance discussion starts with a single question. And I'll see you in the next one.